Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, I'm going to start off this video by taking a look at how July finished up. We need to talk about who still needs the rain to help their corn and soybean crop finish well. When you look at the map that's in the upper left-hand corner, that shows you the last part of the month of July, the last 14 days in terms of the percent of normal precipitation. And there's been some interesting things. We've seen quite a bit of severe weather stretching through parts of Wyoming here, getting down into Colorado. Saw some big hailstorms there recently, and then a lot of that heavier rain stretching through parts of Nebraska, getting into parts of Kansas. Getting on the other side of that, though, look at this. We saw part of Iowa that spent much of the end of July dry, northern Illinois, and also where the Ohio River and the Mississippi kind of come together and through here. Wet all around it. Had a beautiful storm system, took 2.5 days to cross through parts of central Illinois, bringing in quite a bit of rainfall there. It's been wet in parts of Kentucky and Indiana, but very dry down in Texas. So you just kind of see this patchwork of precipitation anomalies as we finished the month of July. Where it's been consistently wet has been up here along the East Coast, and we'll talk about that certainly. But what you look over the last 72 hours, what we see here is that we had a couple of interesting things come through here. We had one system that slid right here through the eastern Corn Belt, bringing in quite a bit of rain, and this continual feed of moisture here kind of coming up the southeastern part of the United States. So where are we going? What is this big dominant ridge out west going to do in the coming days? Well, that's what we got to figure out, because we need to know, are we going to get precipitation soon in these parts of the Corn Belt that really need it to help the crop, both crops, corn and soybeans, really finish strong here? So let's dig on into this. First, just to show you how July finished in terms of temperatures, this is July 1st through the 31st temperature anomaly map. And when you look at it, if you went back and historically correlated a map like this with yields, you would see that because we did not have major stresses that lasted the entire month, things are going to look pretty good this year. Overall, this is a map that would favor less stress across the Corn Belt. You know, it's where it's been hot, though. Texas up through the Pacific Northwest. That's why we have a lot of fire activity there, and that's because we saw that ridge retreat west, and that's an important clue about the upcoming forecast I'm going to give you. Plus, you see the cooler weather here in the southeast. That's, again, been a consequence of a lot of cloud cover and that continual kind of surge of moisture that's been happening along the East Coast. Now, so much can be learned about our forecast by watching this animation. Got several things going on here. Dominant ridge out just off the East Coast, so that's sitting here, funneling all that moisture in the day on Wednesday right here. There's a boundary sitting in this area that these storms have been firing on. We did see some storms come through parts of Iowa, which definitely needed that rainfall. Also here in the northern Mississippi River Valley and parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, we had some shower and thunderstorm activity through there, which was desperately needed. The monsoon is still going. You can also see the smoke from the fires here as this particular animation finishes out. But watch as the sun sets here, the storms really blow up right here on this frontal boundary that's moving through parts of Iowa there. Now that front is going to actually move toward the east in the day on Thursday, so we could see a resurgence of storms right in through this area. That includes Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. And we're going to have to watch what the monsoon is doing. See the circulation out here? What it's going to be doing over the coming days, because we'll need to be watching for storms to continue to kind of erupt here in parts of Colorado and then eventually take off over the weekend toward the Great Lakes. So a lot to be discussing here, but it's all very important as we get into this crucial month of August here. To get things started, on the 2nd of August here, we're watching this region over here. This has the potential for flash flooding, so the National Weather Service has issued flash flood watches up the East Coast. And then these are red flag warnings. So this includes some drier conditions plus windier conditions, which brings up the risk of fires. And we've seen it actually stretch now into Montana, where we will see some very windy conditions at the end of this week. So let's see what this all kind of looks like. The day on Thursday going to feature a couple of things. We certainly are going to see very windy conditions up the Great Plains. On that, some pretty high temperatures resurging into the middle part of the country. Again, that boundary that was bringing the storms to Iowa moves over into parts of Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, right into here. So we're going to have to watch that area for the development of showers and storms. And look, here's that big dominant area of high pressure continually funneling moisture into the East Coast, so it's right along through here. We're going to have to watch for more shower and thunderstorm activity. Okay, I want to break this down and kind of show you some of the big players we're going to be dealing with in terms of precipitation. Start off on the East Coast. Here, as we get into the morning on Thursday, there's our dome of high pressure. Look at the winds around that, just funneling moisture into here. So if you watch this animation, here's the radar, what the radar is going to look like. You're just going to see constant precipitation Thursday, Friday. It's going to finally settle down over the weekend. As we move forward, though, let's just do this together. Watch as we get into the day on Thursday. So here we are getting into the early afternoon, and this is around 4 or 5 o'clock. Look at what happens. See the ridge here? Well, underneath that, with the south winds, we're going to be seeing 90+ degree weather, some triple digits getting all the way from Texas clear up into parts of Montana. It will be very windy in Montana, which is again why they have the red flag warnings. Hot, dry, and very windy. Now, with that, the monsoon gets cranking up, and we're going to watch again this boundary right in through here for showers and thunderstorms. But the next big player is going to be coming right here out of Colorado. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We got to get into the day on Friday to see it. So here I am getting you through overnight on Thursday into Friday morning and Friday the middle of the day. There we go. Now there's a little shortwave coming through the flow of the atmosphere right in through here. And as it ejects out into Colorado, look at the storms that are going to initiate out ahead of it. There's going to be a lot of heat, again, building up into the center part of the country. Upper 90s, possibly some triple-digit heat. But what we're trying to assess here is where the showers and storms are going to be. So I got to look at dew point temperatures, look at how high they're going to be up here in parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, really get up in North Dakota as well, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois. So that's where the high dew point air is. That's where the instability is as well. And again, look at the strong winds funneling that moisture up into that area. Well, storms are going to break out here, and we're going to watch them on the day on Friday and Friday evening move out of Colorado into parts of Nebraska, and then eventually over into parts of Iowa and Minnesota, and then over toward the Great Lakes by the time we get through the day on Saturday. So that's going to be the features we're going to be watching. And where does the heat keep rebounding? It keeps pushing there in the central plains. So that's what we're going to have to focus on as we move forward in this forecast. We'll look at this precipitation from another model now. So I'll switch over to the ECMWF, the European model. On the left, that's the next 3.5 days, so it gets you through the night on Saturday. And on the right, I've got the forecast for the next week. Now look at this. First things first, we got the front sagging right in through here, possibly initiating some showers and storms into this area. Secondly, the moisture continues to get pushed right up here along the East Coast, and that's helped by an upper level trough sitting right in through this area. That's going to help with the support for more showers and thunderstorms as we get through the end of this week. There will be some reprieve, I think, over the weekend, but right now we're going to get very wet there. Then that system comes out of Colorado and moves right through here. Now, why am I spending so much time talking about it? Look at where it brings rain, to places we need it. The upper Mississippi River Valley, western Iowa. And if you even bring this out over the next 7 days, there's a shortwave trough we're going to watch on Monday coming through this area right in through here. And again, with these little troughs, they lift the air, giving us the chances for showers and storms. And that goes basically from Iowa into Illinois and Indiana as we get into the start of next week. So if we let the models kind of guide us here on total precipitation, we're bringing rain to places that need it right now in the Corn Belt to help the corn and soybean crops get a very good start to the month of August. So that's why I want to spend some time kind of detailing out those systems for you. Now, if we look at the next 10 days kind of an aggregate here from the long-range European ensemble, you can see that it is picking up on the wetter pattern right in through here. And that does include some crucial parts of Iowa. You do see that it's like, maybe it's going to be drier right in through this region, but I'll show you in a few minutes why I think there might be a little bit of a difference there in what the model's forecasting, what might actually happen. And finally, look at the moisture still continuing to surge over the next couple of days here up the East Coast. So that's kind of your overall picture as we look at it over the next 10 days. The big shift we saw in the last couple of days was in the overall flow of the jet stream. And this is what happened. In my last update, we were talking about this shortwave trough right here, cutting through Alaska, getting down into the Pacific Northwest. And instead of it doing that, it's now instead going to retrograde back to the west and hang out here, south of the Gulf of Alaska. Now, why is that important? It's important because of the typical wavelength of the trough ridge systems. Watch it go. See that? I'm now into Monday. Let's let it get out here into Tuesday, Wednesday. You see that trough, instead of coming to the northwest, well, move back over here. Some complicated interactions between that trough and some stuff that's going on right now in the tropical Pacific. But long story short, that keeps the heat west. Now, these models have been flip-flopping back and forth on this. But this was the latest run I had available, and it was the one that I kind of saw some consistency in. And if that ridge stays out west, well, that keeps the heat primarily confined to the west in the Great Plains. And overall, see the trough pattern you see right in through here? Well, that's what things look like through much of early next week. While it will stay warm, this certainly is something that we're going to be seeing, the elimination of the risk of the extreme heat. I'm talking about those mid to upper 90s and lower 100s. This is also a pattern that could potentially be stormy. I'd tell you that I didn't fully believe in the dry pocket in through here. That's because if we open the Gulf of Mexico back up, we have a flow pattern like this aloft, that could bring a lot of, hit or miss showers and thunderstorms to a big section of the Corn Belt. This is once we get into like the 6th, 7th, and 8th and beyond for the start of August here. So we got to watch that. That's key. That's a big shift keeping the heat out west. Now let me show you what that looks like when we kind of look at it from a different perspective here. So this is going to be our temperature anomalies. So we're going to look at these in 5-day chunks to kind of smooth out some of the bumps along the way here. But look at this. As I animate it out, yes, we still see the warm biases here. But notice it kind of comes in little bits of waves. I think we're going to see a regular interaction of storm systems that bring in, temporary relief from it. Now, overall, it's certainly going to be a warm bias as we work toward the middle part of this month, which basically just means when you think about this in terms of Corn Belt weather, that this is going to be not like 2017, which was the 10th coolest on record for much of the Corn Belt. So a bit of a change over that, but this at least does not point toward the extreme heat encroaching on the western and central Corn Belt. It looks as though it's going to stay out west and in the Great Plains for the most part. What you also see here, though, is this. The models are really not bringing in heat down here to the southeast or the south central part of the United States. So important patterns to kind of clue in on here as we look at these temperature and precipitation patterns long term. To finish up this video, I just want to take you back to Europe. We've been talking a lot about Europe and some of the stresses they've seen there in terms of drought and heat. And over the next 10 days or so, we're certainly not going to be seeing much relief in that. So from France all the way over to Poland and Ukraine, even getting into the Russian wheat belt, which is right in through here north of the Black Sea, we're seeing a drier pattern set up. And certainly over the next week, we're going to see some heat from Spain all the way into the Russian wheat belt. So no relief in terms of some of the weather stresses we're seeing in Europe. And that's certainly been a story we've been talking quite a bit about now for the last couple of weeks. So with that, I want to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video and hope you found it informative and useful as you're kind of planning your operations over the next few weeks. So we hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Monday. Head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. Look forward to talking to you again after the weekend.